Hey, what's up, guys? Frosty here with another hand of the week for you. This was played at a 200 no limit table, and as you can see, I've been dealt pocket jacks here, one of the more tricky hands to play. Um, there's nothing too crazy unusual about this hand, but it will allow me to talk about two decisions that are kind of interesting, one being pre-flop and the other being post-flop right on the flop. So I'll just play the hand and talk about it as it unfolds. We got a reg opening from under the gun +1, another regular call-in, fish call-in, and then it folds to us in the small blind here. And my first instinct was to squeeze here. I think there's two viable options. We can either squeeze and call it off, so like 3-bet to about 30, and then basically call a shove or jam over a 4-bet, or we can just flat call and we'd basically be set mining, but there could be some other good flops for us where we could either check raise or maybe lead out. But let's talk about squeezing first for a second, because I think both options have some merit. But like I said, I think if we squeeze here, ideally what we're hoping to happen would be for the two regular players to fold and for the fish to call, and we'd basically be trying to get heads up with the fish, and then we get most of his stack in pre-flop and then try to get the rest in on a favorable flop. The problem is that our squeeze looks pretty obvious here, so I would expect all-inclusive, even though if he 4-bets, given the fact that he's opening from early position and given the fact that he is 4-betting us, he is representing a lot of strength to the point where we could be almost always crushed by a bigger overpair. But I still don't think we would be able to fold our hand, just because I think he's going to have ace-king a lot, and there's also a reasonable chance that he's going to 4-bet bluff, either as a pure bluff, meaning he's just hoping that everybody folds to his 4-bet right there, or he could be bluffing with a hand that he actually think he could be bluffing against me, with a hand that he thinks is actually ahead of the fish. So if the fish does end up like spaz shoving, which will happen sometimes, he could still think that he's okay. Maybe with a hand like ace-queen, ace-jack, king-queen, those kind of hands. So given that, I don't think that we can bet fold. So it just becomes a bit of an uncomfortable squeeze spot though, because on one hand we will be crushed a lot, but on the other hand we might be flipping, or he might even fold to a 5-bet. We just don't know. So it just becomes a kind of a high variance play. So those are kind of the pros and cons of squeezing. And I guess overall I kind of balance the spot out a bit, depending on the opponent specifically, how light I think they will stack off to me, and what kind of hands I can expect to see. I don't know if I had any super read on this player in particular, other than they were pretty solid. So yeah, I just think squeezing's a little bit risky, I guess, just high variance. And then flatting on the other hand, it kind of sucks because our hand is quite strong, and if that ideal situation happens where the regs fold and the fish calls, it's great. We usually stack the fish quite often. Otherwise, if we call here and the flop comes king high or whatever, and we kind of have to just give up, that kind of sucks too. But I guess, when we do hit our set, we usually stack the fish anyways if he has any kind of part of the flop, and we can either even get a lot of money in against the regs in really good shape, because our hand will be a little bit under-repped and a little bit disguised. So all things considered, I decide to flat here, and I think the big blind folds, and he calls, and we see a flop. So we hit a dream flop here. The only hand that we're obviously losing to is pocket kings right now. So now I really am faced with two decisions: either lead out or check raise. And I think this spot is a pretty clear check raise. The first reason being because I think the flop is king high, so I would definitely expect, no, sorry, not definitely expect, but I would reasonably often, I will expect to see bet from all-inclusive, even though he might not see bet unless he actually has a king, just because the pot is 5 ways. But I would expect somebody to at least bet this flop, and it would be great if the fish had a king. And if it checked around to him and he bet, I could check raise him and probably get all the money in that way. So I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to bet this flop. Even somebody might bet it with a draw. and that'd be great to get all the money in now, rather than lead and give them a really good price to peel to their draw. I think hands that I would lead in this spot would be decent to big draws myself, maybe like Queen 10 and maybe like all flush draws, those kind of things. And then I would also probably lead with hands where I would be happy to get the money in against the fish, but not happy at all to get the money in against regulars. So maybe a hand like King Queen, or like maybe even King 10. Those kind of hands, I would probably just lead out. And I mean, the regulars are going to know that I'm not messing around in this spot too much. They might put me on some draws, I guess, but I'd probably lead with sets occasionally as well. But mostly like one pair, or maybe like a King Jack type hand too. I could lead all those hands and just hope to get the money in against the fish. Although I'd have to get the money in with King Jack against the regs as well. But yeah, those are the kind of hands I would lead. And I guess I'm mainly check raising sets, even though I said I might lead with them sometimes. I'd probably lead with like bottom set a lot more than I would like top set or even middle set here. Those hands I just want to try to build the pot as quick as I can right now. So anyways, from here on, the hand plays out very easy for us. We do get a c-bet, which was kind of expected. The reg calls, which is good. I mean, there is a chance he's like slow playing pocket kings there, because I think he would call with most of his strong hands to try to get the fish in as well. But I mean, we're just going broke if that happens, of course, because he could call with all kinds of stuff there: one pair hands, draws, worse sets, lots of stuff. And the fish ends up shipping it, which is obviously we're fist pumping at this point, because there's almost 0% chance the fish can have kings. So yeah, we just let it play out. It's just easy shove, nothing else to do. Hope we don't run into kings, and we don't. And I can't remember what he has, but I'm sure we're winning. And he showed up with the flush draw. So he had bottom pair and a flush draw. So I mean, his hand was quite strong, but against our hand, he was just drawing to the flush draw, which wasn't too many outs. And yeah, we end up with a nice hold there and win a pretty big pot. So anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this hand, and at least got yourself thinking a little bit about those spots pre-flop, because those spots will happen very often pre-flop, where you're either faced with a decision about flatting or squeezing. And yeah, I hope I covered some of the pros and cons of both. And then the other decision was just really whether to lead the flop or check raise, and I hope I covered that pretty well as well. So anyways, I'll catch you guys next week with another hand, and until then, take care and good luck at the tables.